So, welcome everyone to our webinar on unlocking your potential in finance. It's quite an important conversation that I think spans this local South African context quite a lot. But before we get there, I'd like to introduce you all to Girls in Tech. Some of you may know, some of you may not. So Girls in Tech is a global organization which is really focused on the gender gap in not just STEM, but more specifically tech. The disparity doesn't only affect individual career paths, but it also limits the diversity in the tech industry. So Girls in Tech is really focused on encouraging the participation of more women and girls in the tech space. And similarly, in the South African context, this mirrors the global challenge, but it's also compounded by our very unique socioeconomic history. So despite progress, we're trying to help girls and women face these barriers in accessing opportunities and education in tech-related fields. So our webinar today is really looking at economic growth. So I'd like to introduce our financial guru, 𝐀𝐡𝐞𝐞𝐝, and she stands at the forefront of financial innovation and also entrepreneurship. She's not just a leader, she's also a devoted mom. She's graduated cum laude from Stellenbosch University. She also has an MBA from Stellenbosch Business School, and she's gone from being a risk portfolio manager to a business consultant, and thereafter to becoming an entrepreneur, where she founded Grow There. And that's what she currently does, which is aimed at business growth. So it's financial independence courses, holistic financial planning, investment strategies, and I'm sure she'll tell us more about that. And as we delve into today's webinar, we're going to learn how Cecilia's work not only illuminates the path for any business venture, but it's really a beacon of aspiration for girls and women, not just in finance, but also in tech, because her career has been marked by innovation, leadership, determination, and a deep commitment to empowerment, which is exactly the ethos upon which Girls in Tech is built. So without much ado, I'm honored to introduce our ambassador for the month of Feb, Cecilia.
Okay, super. Okay, so Cecilia, first of all, that is me. I am a mother of two wonderful little girls. They're all 6 and 7 years old, and I'm married to Dirk van der Walt. He is also a financial advisor. So him and me, we actually work together. Now, I don't know if any of you ladies have worked with your husbands before, but that sometimes bring a bit of a dynamic, or just even to be in a financial partnership, with a spouse or a partner, or so I speak from a place of having to breadwin to an extent with my husband, and then also to be mother of the children, and to also run a business and a full-time job. So I fully understand, I think, the pressures of that, what life can bring. And from a young age, I always knew I was going to be working with some sort of accounts or some sort of financial position, because I was the little one that was playing bank. I don't know if you ever played that as a young child, or some would play with the Barbies and, the Lego. We would make up these little card machines, and you would go to the bank and you would help someone. So I was always like making up these little financial games. And I think that's really where things started for me, to say, like, look, I am called to an extent, I think, to where I'm at, and I'm passionate about it. I think that's the first thing I want to touch on. And tonight I'm going to be sharing a little bit of a blueprint of my business and what I have seen work in financial portfolios. And I've also seen there's not always a right answer. And I think for financial positions, it's very different. So we can all value money differently. And I think this is a concept that is not strange, because if I want to go have takeout tonight, it's going to be very vastly different somebody else's value of what has been an expensive meal, what is just so worth it, or even to go shopping, to buy that dress. Do I validate it? Is it, is the cost worthy? So as women, I find we mostly struggle a lot with these decisions, you know, when it comes to money, and do we have freedom? So my ultimate philosophy in business is to work towards independence and abundance. Some people call that freedom. For me, it's to reach a point of enough where you can settle within the lifestyle that you've created, that you've decided upon, and there's no anxiety attached to financial decisions you make. Because remember, money is ultimately a tool, and it's a tool that you instruct. For a large part of my life, money controlled my emotional well-being. So if I had a lot of money, I would feel secure. If I didn't have money, I would feel anxious. So the balance of my bank account could drive my my security levels, my confidence levels, and I realized, but something's up here. This cannot be it. It cannot be what the purpose is of money. And then it made me to study a little bit into what is the purpose of money and what uses of money is there really. So you can see a pizza, and I hope it looks delicious. I'm not a big fan necessarily of all the toppings that's on there. I don't necessarily do tomato on my pizza in that way, but be it as it may, the point is we all love pizza in a different way. We love toppings differently. We have a value around, or you can look at almost as your financial portfolio. And the first slice of your financial use of money is to live your money out. So it's about spending your money. It's about, going to the takeaway shop, to the clothing store, to the groceries, to the holiday. It all gets spent. It's a lifestyle you build up. So I want you to reflect a bit tonight on your lifestyle. Do you find it's an extravagant lifestyle? It's a lifestyle that you're unhappy about? How does your lifestyle make you feel? Because we're going to get to the reasons for my questions. And remember, this is just all uses of money, right? You can spend it on something, on goods, you get the goods, or you could give it away. You literally give it to someone else, to a non-profit organization, maybe your church, whatever your religious belief systems are, but you give your money away. Another use of money is to owe someone for money that you've taken. That's what we call interest. So many of you would know this if you've got a bond that you've taken from, or a loan from the bank to buy your house. This is interest occurring at the back end. So you're paying money back, but you're not settling the entire balance with all the money that you're paying back, because you're paying interest on it, right? That we all call debt. And then the last one of my personal favorite ones, is to grow and to have surplus money in your budget in order to put it into investments and savings. So think a little bit, if this was your chart, which one is more heavy? In most portfolios, and I work with portfolios on a daily basis, the living box is almost 90% of most households. It's how much life is costing, and life has become extremely expensive. Clients ask me, how can I cut on my budget? And if the cost of a bread has been $15 and now it's $20, you have no control over that. So you either have to some point cut more on basic things, or you just need to realize, but the top line, the revenue that's coming in, needs to grow. And when I work with clients, and what the grow their model is you need to have a foundation that's strong. And the only way to achieve a strong foundation in your life, and if I say life, I always mean our financial life, right? Is to actually understand where the money is going. You need to track your spending. There is a lot of software systems out there. I mean, you could reach out to me. I can talk you through the options of software that there is. But ultimately it comes down to, am I seeing what is leaving the bank account? And am I happy with what is leaving the bank account? If you do not track your spending at all, you either have, you might be in a situation where there's way too much money coming in, or it's just you do not, it doesn't bother you not to track it, or you could be at a point where you do not have capacity. And that's most people's reasons for not tracking. It takes time, it's tedious, it's administrative. I mean, speak to me, they say the mechanic's car's mostly broken. So I really had to pull, my own energy and to say, look, I work in finance, I'm going to get my own things in order. Repay bad debt. So that is just in terms of bad debt, that is your credit card. It's bet with high interest rates. So if you have debt, you need to understand what is the good debt and the worst debt. Sometimes we don't know. We don't grow up in a financial home, or just, they don't teach you these things in school. They don't teach you that credit cards are 20% plus interest, some even more. Personal loans at the bank can be 20% above. Vehicle finance, 12, 13, 14%, 15%, some cases I've seen. Bonds, home loans could be your more better debt, because that could be debt more around the prime interest rate. So it's good to understand your percentage that you are paying on interest. Another foundational portion that a lot of people neglect is an emergency savings. So for many years, when we would have to do repairs at the house, or we need to, a child falls ill and now I have to pay for the GP, and then it's like 3-4 bags of medicine, 1-2 grand out of my account gone. On the pool pump breaks or whatever breaks, and then you finance that out of your monthly cash flow. That is not financially savvy, because to be financially savvy around emergencies is to have that portion of money invested according to a short-term investment strategy. Short-term investment strategy are your bankable savings. It's your bank savings. It can quickly access, and it actually gives you the best interest rate. It's not money sitting on easy equities or crypto or long-term offshore accounts. Those are not your investments that you use for short-term emergencies or quick fixes. It's not the right investment strategy. So if you find something in your foundational level that, might be needing some sort of tweaking, reach out, because this is firmly, I promise you, the clients on my books that's performing well, and well is a subjective term, possibly, but it's clients that are out of the rat race, and it's clients that operate with the abundantly freedom. There's a lot of athletes. They've got this sorted out. And that is important to understand. Please, just if there's any questions in between, I don't want to just speak and be the preacher, because this is not luckily I'm not a preacher. But it's things we don't always talk about. So interrupt me, and because I'm going to be moving on to the second level. And I just want to keep this one. Yeah. Okay. Are we all good?
Yes, all good. We've left a message in the chat for all the participants. If they want to ask questions, they can just post it in there. And then once you've taken us through all the steps of these levels, then I'll just ask you the questions one by one.
Super. Okay, let's go that. I'm going to put my chat box on here. Okay, so now listen again. And that's where, so I'm not necessarily, or if I speak about my personal financial life, and I speak about some clients, you can be floating in between phases. So this is your more advanced, your second level. And this is where people have a value-driven spending plan. So it's not just, subscribing to a new subscription because I feel like it at the time. It's actually a thought through process to when you onboard an expense. It's when you say that education for my children are important. So if I decide between my Netflix and a education saving, this is a touchy subject in our house, but it's like that's where you actually now going to start to be putting your values behind your money. Because I've got clients, I look at their budgets and I see the values that they're telling me. We've got a wonderful conversation around retirement is important for them, or being free, but they have no money going towards the investment side of things, but a lot of money is leaking towards other more entertainment lifestyle type of choices. And it doesn't mean that we all just need to have a lifestyle where it's really unhealthy, but it touches onto that. And I'm the first person when I work with my clients to also say to reward yourself, but to do it then intentionally. I find women sometimes you could easily you're not feel worthy, like I can't treat myself. No, in fact, I believe if you have good planning, if you have good strategy, you plan for your treats, you plan for your things that you might just discard as extravagant or not worthy. To head on to the giving box or the giving slice, this is where it's a value thing where you start giving a percentage possibly from your income to say, but look, this is important for me. I want to give away a certain percentage. I find people operating within this level, that is where they apply percentages, and you also get in a position where all the bad debt is now being repaid. And again, a reminder, the bad debt is your credit card, your vehicle finance, your depreciating assets or loans that is just absolutely doing nothing for you other than eating up all your additional expenses. I don't know when last, if you do have debt, if you've actually just seen all those finance charges. I mean, the banks are just going absolutely crazy in terms of charging additional finance charge when there's debt. And a very interesting one, and I think one of the ladies that's here tonight, or I hope you're here, is touching or asking questions around income streams, because this is also a very important place to be from a financial freedom perspective. And maybe by a show of hand, where you can use your virtual hand, is everybody, I think, is in a formal employment, or if you are in formal employment, just raise your digital hand, or just nod by yourself and acknowledge that it's me. That there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. From a multiple income streams, that is an opportunity for you to also consider what is the money that's left at the end of the month, because that is your first aim. Well, in fact, any person for that matter, is something needs to be left. So if you're struggling to have surplus, reach out, because that is your first point that must be addressed, right? If 100,000 comes in and 110,000 leaves, that's a problem. And if I say 110,000 leaves, I mean it leaves two things that's not building wealth. You're creating debt. That is a problem. If it leaves because you are building investments, that is all good, but you also need to understand into what are you investing and under what a time horizon. because multiple income streams can mean a lot of things. It can mean, it could be a property that you've bought on the side, an investment property, and you are now earning rental income. So again, if you are considering to buy a property, you need to understand and make sure that your the rental and the cost to having that investment or that property, it actually brings another surplus to you. And you're not consistently subsidizing investments where you're ultimately making a loss. And many people get this wrong. They buy, they buy investment in lovely estates and they forget, the levies, all the additional cost that's going towards that investment. Is it really a good buy? If you are like me, I was still in corporate employment, started with side hustle, something that can earn me a little bit more income. That's also a wonderful way to consider having more surplus in your budget. And yeah, so that is also just very good to understand if your side hustle is making money or if your side hustle is just keeping you busy and you're not really generating any surplus from it. So end of the day, if you wonder if it's a good financial decision, a very basic equation to do is what is left at the end of the day, and are you tracking expenses related to investments? Okay, so I think we're still good. My connection is all good, Radia?
Yes, it's perfect. Thank you.
Ah, wonderful. Great. Now we're getting to the last level. And this is the level that I am very passionate about, because this is the one that I feel and have seen in the lives of my clients, what is almost like a bit of a golden circle for many. And that is where there's 100% debt free. I mean, don't we all want to be in that position? You don't owe anybody anything. And I'm not saying tonight that debt is bad. I'm just saying there's certain debt that is definitely bad, that I am saying, but there's also there's a freedom that comes to being debt free, and to know when I go sleep tonight or there's nobody that has to knock my door and need to claim something back. There's a level of autonomy. And by the way, the very wealthy people actually make use of debt to make more money. So that is a very mature level that I believe you are financially, if you start to make use of debt to really make more money. I've got a couple of clients that many times they ask me, do I pay off my bond or do I invest? Oh, that is such a relevant and regular question. So what I will do is we will obviously analyze the bond repayments. We'll look at the interest rates, and we will specifically look towards time and how much time do you have. That is normally a good question to answer, is how long will this investment take? There's nothing like a quick buck. If you are on the online trading, or if you're trading online with shares and short-term CFD trading or short-term trades, quick, you sell, you buy. There's a very high risk in that. So you can lose in a day, but you can also win double in a day. So that is what we call, it should actually be for more long-term strategy. It should be money that you can afford to lose. It's money that you only need within 7 years or more. Those are the type of money, where I say, okay, let's in Afrikaans, the word is voeker, but I'm now struggling to know what is voeker in English. And I don't want to say play. You don't gamble. That's the wrong word either. But it's to move with it. Yeah. So that is in terms of this level, from speaking from a debt perspective. Living within your enough on the top corner. Lifestyle, again, it's where you get to a point where you can ultimately say, I don't need more. I really do not need more. And I wish, don't you all wish that more of us can be in that place? To really be in a situation where you can sit in your home and you can honestly say, I do not need a bigger home. I do not need a bigger car, or I do not need a better increase, because of the fact that you've created a lifestyle for you that's enough for you. And not it's not less worthy, or it's not a poverty mentality I'm bringing forth here. I don't want you to think that by having a basic lifestyle or a basic enough means to be poor. That is not what I'm saying. I am challenging my clients to create an enough which is abundant and which is according to you, that can bring you abundance and freedom. But you can say, this is now it. Because what clients do, or people do, and it's not what we do as a human, is the moment that salary increase, we increase an expense simultaneously. That moment where we get something extra, we just bump it up a little bit because I can breathe. And all of a sudden, before you see, is that you have again sucked in your surplus and there is nothing left to fund purpose goals. And that's the one I want you to write today on a notepad, if even make a few notes on your phone, is what are your purpose goals? If you're a believer, you believe that God has created you in a way, or that you've been created with inner desires, purpose, passions, things that you need to do for your time here on earth. What are those? How much does it gonna cost? Have you ever worked out how much will it be to finance your purpose goal? Is it achievable? Probably not by yourself, but with a team, it could be very achievable. And I love that. I love to see that you can get to a point where you finance what you want to do in life. And you stay in your salary job if you have been called and that's your purpose, but you don't stay there for the money. You need to move to where your purpose is, right? And money shouldn't be the thing that stops you. But it stops all of us because, we might either not have enough confidence, or we believe our skill sets are not there, or there's maybe not an opportunity. But imagine the entire world, every person on the entire world can do their purpose and can have money to finance it. That is, I think, how the world was supposed to be. Unfortunately, we've all settled at some point for something that we believe is our security, and we get stuck there. It's like a Velcro that gets us stuck. And I want to challenge you tonight is to unstuck a bit. If you're stuck in a salary mindset, hear me again. A mindset where there are other opportunities for me to break through from what I should be doing. And I want you to, if we meet again or in a few years' time, and it's a process, it's a process to get to where you need to be, is I always just ask my client, is jy al bietjie nader? Are we a little bit closer than where we were yesterday? Because then there's purpose, and we're moving forward. So this is the entire picture. I can also send it to you. It is not necessarily the blueprint that says if you follow everything to the T, life happens. I also, on the spending side, I plan for events as well. In the event of sickness, death, we are only citizens really of this world, and or not really citizens of this world. We are just here temporarily before we have another destination. So while we are here, we can pass on. And then in your budget, I work to say, but where can we cut? That is normally my first starting point, is to say, let's go and look at all the expenses and say, can we cut somewhere, and where is money leaking? If you're a salaried professional or owner or business owner, a big leaking place is SARS, unfortunately, because SARS takes money, right? So money can easily leak to SARS if you don't have a good tax planning structure, if you don't utilize tax-free opportunities, if you don't utilize tax breaks for what the law says, you know, from SARS. So that is one of the things we address within the spending. The debt portion, I think I've explained that, to analyze, you know, what is good, what is bad, and to have a plan. I don't call it retirement. I don't believe in the concept of retirement. So if you want to have a retirement plan, you're not going to be able to work with me, but you can have an enough plan, and you can have a plan of the future to where you want to be at a certain age. I have not found the right word for this yet. So if you've got one, share it with me, because I do not like the word retirement, because I've looked into my parents' life, and my dad had a forced retirement at the age of 60. And then he went and sit, and he was like, now he's retired. And I'm like, oh my word, what does that even mean? You know, and people that have of age have so much to give. And there is actually so much opportunity for them to still contribute to their society. And think of that. What is the legacy you're going to leave? A good legacy, in my view, is to bless your children's children. So think about that. If you had a grandparent that passed away, I don't know if everybody's ages, but I'm just, you know, I'm in my late 30s now. So my grandparents died when I was high school. Some of them passed on, or early 20s. So if there was a little bit of life cover or a little bit of assets or inheritance, that was the word, that inheritance went to my parents, you know, and they were in their 50s. So imagine that inheritance was given to me or us, the grandchildren. You know, I would obviously not have been able to spend it then because I was minor, but the compound interest that inheritance would have generated, by now I don't think I would have actually had to work, because inheritance would have been there. And that is where I want to start challenging my people to say, let's do double generations. Let's see if we can be the generational changer that the children's children is sorted. But that means someone needs to double up, in my family at least, because I don't think there's even you know, but I think you get what I'm saying. You don't want to get inheritance, because then you're almost losing your loved one. But the concept of inheritance for me is powerful, because we want to be able to leave something, I think, for the young ones. And the economy and where life is heading is unsure, right? So I'm going to stop here. I think that is my last slide before we go into the unpacking of what I can offer for you guys as a group and Girls in Tech. Let me take some questions, Radia. I don't have the chat box open, but if there's any comments, I'm happy to answer a few more specific questions, because I couldn't answer the entire group just from this presentation.
No, of course. Well, if anyone does have any questions, please feel free to post them now. I did have a question, which was, let's say we're going all the way back to level 1, or even before we know what level we're on, where we're really assessing, okay, what is my spending, what is my giving, my owing, my growing. Would you say a good strategy would be, okay, my income arrives in my bank account, and I'm now going to sit down and say my spending or my enough is this. So I'm immediately going to put aside my grow, my owe, my give, and then I've got something left in the bank. Is that a good strategy as soon as your money hits to do that? Or how would you best approach that?
I like that question, because there's still a basic primary need and a cost of living that we can't get away from. So it's very easy to say, okay, I'm earning, let's say, 20 or 30 bucks a month. Yeah, of course, I want to do all of these nice things. That's going to cost me 25. Now I'm sitting with 5 left. You can't live with that. Similarly scenario. So it's about striking a balance and seeing where you can cut within the lifestyle, because sometimes it's not actually very easy to cut there. So you actually start with, what do you need? And the first things I think is, you need food, you need a house. It's the Maslow hierarchy. I think we've all done that at some point in our schooling. You need basic primary needs, right? If you have a child, you need to care for your child. They need education. You need to sort out your financial dependence, and living is a very large priority. So you basically start there and sort out, can I cut there? Because if you get to a point, look, we can all maybe move back home, right? If the home back home if someone else can sort out or provide for us, but we're not all that privileged, and you don't necessarily want that, right? That's why you've got a job, and that's why you studied, to get an income so that you can move out of the house and live your own life. So my first strategy is go and define your live box, your live slice, and see what is your basics there that you can settle on. Then decide, and obviously the O boxes, I mean, if you've got debt at the moment, you can't get away from that either, right? So you're going to have to plan for that, and there's nice debt, getting out of debt, roll-on strategies that we can work on. That's a process on itself. But it's to also understand, is there income? And can I protect my income if I fall ill? That is a big part, and that's not just to go back to an insurance, but that is also why there can be something like an insurance, because if an event happens to you, then that's covered. Giving is it's a value thing in my mind, in my view, so you can then see if there's anything left. So ideally there's money left. If there's not money left after you've paid your interest and you've lived, let's forget about the giving part. That's something you can decide. And there's nothing for grow, then that is a big decision you're going to have to make. Am I going to cut on my lifestyle in order to save for the future? Or am I going to find a job that can give me more income? Or am I going to start something that can generate that income? I hope this answers your questions, because then you can decide the strategy there is with what's left. What the right strategy.
Yes, that's a really helpful way to think about it. Thank you. There aren't any other questions, so I think we can go ahead into your next section.
No, well, I think that is basically it. I mean, I didn't prep to keep us busy for 60 minutes. I think what we could, I just wanted to say, like, everybody that's here tonight, as I said, I'm having a masterclass in all of these areas. Perhaps what I can do, I just quickly want to see, I think there was a comment about budgeting. I don't know if you have any questions around how to budget or how to spend. Let's maybe just unpack that slightly. So if you like, I mean, you're all in tech, right? So a good option would be to consider a software where you can actually link up your bank accounts. So a lot of people like that. There's a lot of apps available, like a 24/7. That's one of the things. And now with some of the banks, they have that already within. But the point is to see in a specific snippet of your month how much have left. I have got a template. If you need a template, you can reach out. It's a Google Sheet based Excel, where it's already within these categories. So I can already see, you know, is my living slice, am I within my means? Because remember, that's back to the emergency savings part. You want to have a little bit of a rainy day account somewhere. Don't put all your money into one account necessarily. Also, don't go and make open up 5, 6 bank accounts. Please don't do that. But have something separate with the better interest rate where you can withdraw from when it is emergency times. And that works very well for my clients. And yeah, just do another point on the enough. Remember that circle box to say live within enough speaks of a time where you don't earn an income anymore. And it relates to a time where you've stopped working. So it's not 60 or 65 as the retirement world is projecting. It's a time when you have enough assets, investments, cash, properties, assets to self-fund the lifestyle and the giving that and the legacy that you would love to have and to leave. So that is a different enough, right? And that could be a very large capital sum, if you look at it practically, to provide for at a certain age. So that is, I start by saying, to start getting an idea of where am I heading. Because now, as an advisor, people come to me and ask for a retirement annuity. And great, we start a retirement annuity of a few $1,000 a month, or your company can give you a pension fund, or you contribute into that, but you don't really know where it's fitting in. You don't really know, okay, well, hopefully when I'm 60 or 65, I'm going to be able to retire. You hope. But I take it to a different level and say, let's look at your assets and let's see, what do you want to see there? When I'm sitting at 55 or 60 or whatever the age might be, what do you want to see there? Do you see a business that's giving you income? Do you see property? Do you see a lot of money in the bank? And that is what's drawing you. And that is what you should be starting to work towards. And at the end of the day, I think if we can have anxiety removed from our lives when it comes to money, that's also a big win already. And by using a foundational approach, things don't necessarily have to change. There's still, AI is teaching a lot of things for us, but I think AI will still take us back to foundation and take us back to principle, which I enjoy, because certain things do not change. The type of money can change and the currency can change, maybe from fiat money to digital money, but at the end of the day, there's basic principles and you cannot overspend to what's coming in. And the large population of our country is getting that wrong, unfortunately, and that's why there's so much debt and so much struggle. And yeah, there was a question, someone has raised a question before. It was something about creating, I think, ETFs in terms of, Tina, do you have that question maybe? I don't know if Tina is still on the call. There was a question about ETFs. I can also have a look.
How can I
don't know if the person here that wants to raise it themselves.
What they asked was, how can I start now to use shares and ETFs as a financial vehicle to support my earnings in the years to come?
Yes, so I think it's also, the ETF is, I think, a separate subject. It also depends, what product, in terms of what you're going to be investing in. But I think from having a share portfolio already with now is a good start. So you can start by understanding what portion of your surplus is going towards shares, ETFs, possibly crypto, into things where the world is changing, because we don't all know how the world is adapting to all this change, right? So money is going to be very different in a couple of years' time, and it's already different. So it's about preparing already now in balancing. So deciding and figuring out, I'm not going to put everything now into a retirement annuity or a financial vehicle such as cash or such as the dollar. I rather want to start considering other options. But that's when you really need to, I think, get your own research done, your own knowledge done, what you're comfortable with, because we all have different risk levels of risk or comfort of risk. But yeah, there's definitely an option to prepare by actually just starting by adding a share portfolio to your budget as well. Okay, I'm not too sure. The last slide is basically just if you scan this, it actually gives you my Calendly link. That's all it's going to do. It's going to give you a wonderful 30-minute with me where I can ask you questions around how your financial life is looking, and we can just have a heart-to-heart, nothing too vulnerable, nothing too personal, but just to, to assess what's your salary doing for you, what is your budget doing for you, where can you improve. That is the invitation. I have a masterclass happening on the foundation level, the outside level, towards the end of March. I'm just waiting for 1 or 2 confirmations, and then I'll advertise the dates. And I'm also going to be having a in-person workshop. So all of you, I mean, I've got your names. If you register for that, there will be a discount on that. So yeah, that is me. I don't think Anushka's with us, but I think, Radia, you can take the floor. We all close to 7 and maybe all the tummies are now hungry.
Well, a large thank you to you, Cecilia. You've certainly given us a lot of food for thought, and dare I say, revolutionized how we think about our finances and our money. And I really like, the general ethos behind everything you said, which goes back to what is your purpose and how can you think more independently and more abundantly and grow your money. So thank you so much for that. It's deeply appreciated from me and everyone at Girls in Tech. And yeah, that's it from us. I'd like to invite all the participants to please check the chat. Tina has left a little link where we can fill in a survey about this webinar. And thank you so much to everyone for taking the time out to join.